everybody, and welcome to Season 3 of Whiskey with the Werewolf Hunter. I'm Brian Easton, author of the Autobiography of a Werewolf Hunter series, and behind me is the Werewolf Bar. Thanks for joining us this evening, and I hope you had a great holiday season. We always open Whiskey with the Werewolf Hunter with our Creature of the Night, usually some kind of a whiskey. But tonight we're going to break with tradition a little bit. Because while I was cleaning out the Werewolf Bar for during New Year's, I came across this 40-year-old bottle of El Presidente Brandy. Now, the first thing I noticed about this bottle, other than the fact that the label is seen better days, was that when I opened it, took off the cap, and I took off the little red topper there, it still didn't seem to be open. And I poked and prodded on this thing for like it was a magic puzzle box or something, until I realized that, or I was told, that all Mexican liquor comes with this built-in safe pour spout. So, you know, as you can see, you could take the thing and turn it, you know, and hardly anything comes out. I didn't even try it, but you practically have to turn the thing upside down to get any kind of a pour out of it. All right, so once I figured that part out, I figured I'd share that tonight on the show. Now, I am not a brandy drinker, okay, and I don't really know that much about it, especially the El Presidente Brandy brand. But here's to your health. Well, it's no whiskey. It is a little bit stronger than I thought it would be, though. But the stuff's not half bad. It's not good enough to make your man change religions or anything, but it's worth the nip. So, you know, we started Whiskey with the Werewolf Hunter in 2019, and I was doing one of these episodes a week for, I don't know, 4 or 5 months, I think. But then my time got a little bit more scarce, and we've knocked it down to once a month. And we've been pretty faithful to that schedule all through 2020, and hopefully we'll continue that through 2021. The purpose in all this, of course, the show, is for me to have an internet platform where I can familiarize folks with my work, where I can interact with readers and share updates on the series' upcoming books. It's not just to sell my books, but primarily to promote them as something that can be adapted to the screen, be that the big screen or the small screen. I really don't care. And, you know, I don't have to tell you how many outfits there are out there these days looking for new content to make into original movies and cable series. And honestly, I want a piece of that pie if I can get it. There are just so many networks and streaming services jockeying for position, scrambling to produce the next big thing, and I see no reason why my Werewolf Hunter series shouldn't be in the running at least. And they can say no, and they do. They can say no about as many times as they want, but of course, really all it takes is one to say yes. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that one yes. Anyway, I was looking through the appendices of the Winter Fox journals the other day, and I was flipping through it, and I was thinking to myself how much fun those were to write. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, this is the Winter Fox Journals, Book 1, written from Michael Winter Fox's point of view, who is Sylvester's mentor in the original series. And I remembered how there were some of my friends who thought it was not necessarily a good idea to have appendices for some reason. They thought I know the reason. They thought it would be, the information in the appendices would be better served if it was integrated with the story. And I had to agree, yes, that would have been probably the ideal way to do it. But by that time, I had about half of the thing already written, and I made a go at kind of going back and trying to incorporate some of this stuff, and it just is basically, I was going to have to start all over again, and I didn't want to do that. So I went ahead with the appendices, and so the reason I had these appendices in the first place is because Michael's journals contain just so much information that really didn't lend itself to the narrative that I was putting down. Remember, this is Sylvester taking Michael's journals and sorting through them, combing through them, compiling them, handwritten journal, making with all the different marks and notations and scribbles and illegible lines. And Michael has a cramped hand anyway, and so here's Sylvester poring over these things, deciphering them, and with their lack of punctuation and stingy dates and basically everything else you might expect to find in a journal, handwritten journal, and he's trying to make all that into a cohesive story to preserve the journals and other things. Listen to what Sylvester says as an introduction to these appendices. The journals of Michael Winterfox contain a good deal of information that does not lend itself to narrative. For example, there are annotations scrawled in the margins, roughly sketched maps, footnotes galore, and even a few attempts at portraiture. While these details may be interesting or even insightful, they are not all equally weighted or beneficial for the path before you. I collected most of Winterfox's peripheral material during the initial compilation process and supplemented it with some of my own experience. The results have been assembled into cohesive thoughts to the best of my ability, and I trust you'll find them worthwhile. Lord knows there are things here I wish I'd known back in the day. Maybe they'll avail me yet. Like anything put together by the hands of men, this additional content is not perfect, nor do I think it represents by any means an exhaustive treatment of its subject matter. It seems to me many of the notions advanced here are just snapshots of a picture too large and perhaps too frightening to see in its entirety. The concepts themselves are almost too terrible to consider, much less understand, and so I can't blame you should you find them hard to believe. However, should you survive long enough, you will likely find yourself in a place where all this madness becomes relevant, or worse, makes sense. Others have walked this road before you. Take whatever strength from that you can. You know I would warn you away from every bit of this if it weren't already too late. The only thing you can do now is push on and never show them your back. SLJ. So can't you just see and imagine the amount of supplemental information here that are in the Winterfox's papers? I mean, just the footnotes, the tight margins, where he has written little comments, his drawings of things, little maps and pieces of pictures, random depictions of things he can't really put into words. And here's Sylvester going over them, untangling them, putting them together in a chronological order enough to tell a story of his mentor. And it's not like there's only one of these journals here. I mean, Michael had fruit crates filled with completed tablets of paper and ledgers with paper bindings, and some old ones with cracked leather bindings. And so this is a monumental undertaking, and because the man has been journaling since Indian school, where he first learned to write, and just kind of became I wouldn't say obsessed, but he kind of became really faithful to keeping a journal for all of his life. And considering all that, I am very glad that I am in the position where I can write the Winterfox journals, and I don't have to do all that. You compare the job I have with Sylvester's, and I've got the easier one for sure. So what did you think about the appendices? Did you find them intrusive at all? Redundant even? Or were they, as I hoped they would be, fun to read? Because they were definitely fun to write. I mean, there are so many character sketches in the back of that first book that I suppose a novel or series of novels could be written on each one of those werewolves back there. Wouldn't that be amazing? And one thing you may have noticed is that Sylvester makes it pretty clear when he's writing some of this stuff that he is talking to an unnamed third person. He keeps saying, you, and for your sake, and I do this on your behalf, and so forth. And we don't know who he's talking to. So I think we can safely assume that Sylvester is not only preserving Michael's legacy in this process of compiling his journals into narrative, but he's also doing it for the benefit of someone else. So to my mind, in the second book that I'm writing, it doesn't really make sense to have more appendices unless they are relevant to that situation and are pertinent to that person to whom he's writing. I would ask my readers what you think about it. Should there be additional appendices and in the second book? And if so, what would they be? Let me know in the comments down below. So I also want to mention what we've been talking about here lately, and that is the Legends of the Werewolf Hunter anthology that we're doing with Miles Booth over at MB Press. We are putting this together with a crew of very talented authors, and they will be contributing stories that exist within the universe of the autobiography of a werewolf hunter. And in addition to the authors that have already been selected, already been invited to participate in this, we're looking for three others who want to contribute and who have an original story and can write it in such a way that it's going to be something that we're looking for. So if you head over to mbpress.com, you can take a look at the guidelines. And you can email your submissions to Miles at the email address there at the MB Press site, or you could send them to me if you want, Brian at werewolfhunter.com. What we're looking for is a synopsis of your idea right now. We want you to tell us what your pitch is, and then give us a sample of your writing. Miles definitely wants to see that, and so do I. We want to make sure that you know that you can write and that your idea is original and fits within our parameters. And send them to us. We're going to give it our full consideration. And you don't need to have been previously published or anything like that. And if you aren't familiar with the series and you're still interested in making a submission, you've got plenty of time. The deadline for the submission of your idea is February the 15th, okay, next month, about this time. The actual deadline to turn in your finished story is in September. And that's plenty of time to do that. And we're talking about 6,000 to 10,000 words. And we're going to be working with authors all through the year, taking your questions, helping you work through anything that you might have trouble with. And they're going to be edited by a professional editor. You know, we're going to make them shiny if they're not already, but before they go to press, which is actually slated for October 31st. So even if you're not a writer yourself, if you're not interested, if you know someone who is, please share this with them. You know another writer who's kind of wanting to get his foot in the door, so to speak, someone who wants to be published. This could be a great opportunity for them, especially if they write genre fiction like this. And I have to say this, MB Press is about as author-friendly as they get, okay? I mean, nobody's going to tell you not to quit your day job or anything like that. And plus, Miles is going to be doing interviews with each of the authors down through the months to come, and that's going to be awesome. I can't wait. I'm excited. It's an exciting project. So on that note, I think I'll take one more nip of this brandy. El Presidente Brandy. And I want to thank you for joining us here this evening for the first episode of Season 3 of Whiskey with the Werewolf Hunter. Before you go, if you haven't already, mash that like button and hit the subscribe button too if you haven't, so you won't miss an episode, because we got exciting things coming up. I'm going to be giving updates on the next book that I'm working on, which is the Winter Fox Journals Book 2, and we've got a long way to go, and getting there is going to be fun, I think. So one more time, thanks for joining us. Happy hunting, and mind the moon.